Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be reviewing an article really about the decline of Western civilization, but specifically about CNN posting its lowest weekend ratings and key demographics in its recorded history. And so this is a media and entertainment organization, and we can see that people are just not buying into the propaganda, the manufacturer consent for war anymore. And so this is extremely important because it tells us that they are either opting out of listening to the news in general, or they are finding alternative news sources, such as this channel, in order to figure out what is going on in the world because places like CNN lie to them so much. And so let's read this article and we can provide a little bit of commentary overall. Ratings challenge CNN hit rock bottom in a key viewership demographic last week, another sign of the difficulties facing incoming boss Mark Thompson. The cable news network logged its worst weekend ratings on record in the all-important 25 to 54-year-old demo, according to latest Nielsen data released today. So if I had to guess why that was the key demo, it would have something to do with ad revenue. So people within the 25 to 54-year range have some degree of discretionary spending, so they have money they could spend on various things they're interested in. And so if you want to get advertising money, you have to have that key demo watching your channel, so that advertisers will be like, ooh, we can get access to this key demo so people will buy our products and services. CNN, which launched in the 1980s and bills itself as the most trusted name in news, totaled just 55,000 viewers for its weekend slate of shows that include Sunday political programs, State of the Union with Jake Tapper and Dana Bush, and Fareed Zakaria's GPS. That's shocking. I mean, I know a lot of YouTubers who get more than 55,000 viewers, so absolutely pathetic that is the state of traditional media right now. The network's Sunday primetime lineup, which featured the whole story with Anderson Cooper, Stanley Tucci searching for Italy, drew 43,000 in the demo. The ratings are the network's worst since 1991. The earliest that TV data is readily available. Data prior to 1991 is largely not digitized. CNN's overall viewership wasn't much better. The network logged 345,000 total viewers, trailing Fox News' 683,000 and MSNBC's 424,000. Fox won the battle on the key demo as well, drawing 75,000 viewers to top MSNBC's 47,000, which finished behind CNN. CNN is a ratings embarrassment, an industry insider said. At least with Thompson, they will have a direction. Thompson, the former New York Times company CEO, was tapped as CNN's new chairman and CEO last month by parent Warner Brothers Discovery after the disastrous tenure of Chris Licht. So here's the thing. The reason media and entertainment companies are bought are because they work as the propaganda arm for the oligarchs. People have been wondering this for a few years now because traditional media, mainstream media, has not been able to bring in money. They've been a net deficit in terms of money. And so because of that, people are like, well, if money is the most important thing at the end of the day, why are these oligarchs buying up these companies? And the reason is because they are the propaganda arm. If they make money, sure, that's great. But in reality, it is meant to sway people as much as possible. And unfortunately for them, it's not swaying people very much anymore. Okay, so we see the divisive network boss was ousted in June following a scathing profile in The Atlantic that portrayed him as a paranoid manager who was obsessed with his ousted predecessor, Jeff Zucker. Okay, during Licht's 13-month reign, he was tasked with shifting the network towards more centrist coverage because it was very far left before. His overall included the ill-fated shakeup of the network's morning show, which brought together Don Lemon, Poppy Harlow, and Caitlin Collins. Okay, so I heard about this, and I don't even watch anything mainstream media focused, but Don Lemon apparently said some things that were considered to be sexist, and so he was out of there. So the trio never clicked, and Lemon was fired in April after a series of gaffes that include saying, yeah, this was it. It included saying GP president hopeful Nikki Haley was not in her prime. So we see here, it gets cut off a little bit at the end, but Collins was moved to host a weekend primetime show, but has failed to lift viewership. Thompson, who helped revitalize the Times finances by growing the paper's digital subscriber base as a chief executive from 2012 to 2020, will take the helm at CNN beginning October 9th. Inside CNN staffers are hoping that the incoming leader, who once managed BBC as its director, will lean into his hard news and digital experience to not only amp up the ratings, but also grow the network's revenues. Okay, so what do we think of this article? Well, I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that this is just propaganda. If it makes money, that's great. But if it doesn't, as long as you're swaying people to your perspective, and really, quite frankly, even if you're not swaying people to your perspective, as long as you have complete control over the media and entertainment apparatus, so other ideas, other thoughts can't percolate into the mainstream, then that's the reason that these oligarchs control media and entertainment. They want to control the Overton window. I don't think I've talked about that on this channel at all, but the Overton window is considered to be the what are ideas that are considered to be mainstream that we're actually allowed to talk about. So you might have Republicans believing one thing, Democrats believing another, and anything outside of those two beliefs are considered to be not mainstream. Okay, they're outside of the Overton window. They're outside of something that we're allowed to talk about. And you see that whether the corporation, the media and entertainment organization is making money, the oligarchs will still buy up that institution. And even if it's not swaying people, they will still continue to hold on to it in order to make sure that there are not ideas outside of the Overton window that are allowed into the mainstream. But let's get to some of our other main points here. So the decline of CNN's ratings, I think, revolves around a bigger discussion about mainstream media is just not tapping into what people want to hear anymore. It's obvious propaganda. It doesn't talk about the topics that people care about. It foments tension, racial tension, gender tension, religious tension, et cetera, et cetera. The leadership transitions in CNN are not going to help because the problem is more systemic than that. It's a core problem of the fact that these organizations are propaganda. They are meant to foment tension. They are meant to control the Overton window to make sure that you're not thinking things that you're not supposed to be thinking. And something to remember here is that it's very easy for the oligarchs to manufacture consent for things like wars because of the fact that there are really only 6 media and entertainment companies within the United States that control over 90% of media and entertainment. So just keep that in mind, that there's only a few places, and really all of those 6 are controlled by things like Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street. So you could even say there's only like 2 or 3, and they control all of your media and entertainment. They make sure that there's nothing outside of that. And the things like the shift in editorial direction at CNN, that's really only to try to keep you engaged as much as possible so you don't try to find alternative news sources. And that even that does not seem to be working. I don't think there's much of a competitive landscape in news, which is really interesting because if things were based off of just making money, there would be alternatives that pop up that would talk about things outside of the Overton window that people believe in and want to hear on the news, but you're not actually seeing that occurring within mainstream media, which tells you that mainstream media is really, it has to go to the wayside because it's not meeting the needs of people, particularly people within that 25 to 54-year-old key demographic. And so the future of CNN is dire, as well as the future of all traditional media and entertainment industry organizations, because they're meant to be propaganda and people are figuring out ways to get information outside of the Overton window. And they're starting to recognize how propaganda they are in general, because like if things are good, then you tend to believe the propaganda. But once things go bad, you're like, well, why? You're searching around for answers about why it's going bad, and media and entertainment isn't giving you sufficient answers. And so you say, well, why is this? Why is there not a source of media that will tell me why things are going poorly? And so because they've lost people, because what I call the bread and circus has declined, entertainment's not entertaining anymore. People can't afford to eat. They can't afford a roof over their head. And because of all those things, they're looking for answers. And traditional media is not providing them. And so they're really starting to figure out ways of circumventing the mainstream media in order to find truthful answers outside of the traditional Overton window. And that's where the role of channels like this come in, where we try to give you news. We are fine with, if it takes this, we're fine with getting completely removed from YouTube, as long as we can have things like a Substack or a Rumble or really anything, even Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We just want to have the opportunity to tell you the truth, whether that truth is within the Overton window or outside of the Overton window. So that is what I have for you today. This is Joe Ligato, and I am very, very appreciative of you watching this video in its entirety. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it to be informative, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube and Rumble. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Rumble. We are trying to pivot as much as possible to Rumble, but we have far more viewers, far more subscribers. Well, we have far more subscribers on YouTube, but we're actually starting to get more and more viewers on Rumble. So if you can pivot there as much as possible, we would appreciate it. Rumble, the organization in control of the app, is doing as much as it can to improve the app to be comparable to YouTube. And I think it is a decent viewing experience at this point. So we would appreciate you subscribing on Rumble as well. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, please let me know in the comment box below. I do read all of them and I respond when necessary. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.